All right, Paxton, thank you so much for being here. I know that, listen, everybody in the world may not know your name as a household name, but that's really not important. The right people in the world know you and respect you and love you and value you, and you've been behind so many amazing things. Anybody, I don't care person of color, anybody has so many different industries where they've made an impact from a business side as well. We're going to get into that moment of becoming a minority owner of a baseball team, the Washington National. Break down how you even got into these positions.
Born in Compton, 1960. Family moved out of Watts right after the 65 riots and started to travel. I've lived in 11 states and 17 cities. On the entertainment side, I started doing shows and DJing at junior college in the late 70s. Studied African American Studies at Temple. And then my first big international business shot was producing the 1990 Aruba Jazz and Latin Music Festival. And from there, started literally producing festivals all throughout the world. Started my relationship with BET 91 and 99. 99 started as an executive at BET. So I had a 20 plus year career at BET. Back in 2005, my dentist, Dr. Ronnie Rosenberg, introduced me to the Lerner family. And we started conversations around the ownership for the Washington Nationals, which were the relocated Montreal Expos. Much like when you get a door open, you kind of look for other opportunities that come through it. And so over time now, I'm in my fifth sports ownership group, and
Fifth,
coming up
fifth.
from
Wait.
fifth.
Don't
Yeah,
don't just throw it out there, carry like I'm gonna have some I'm gonna have some blue cheese on those wings. Fifth. Tell me about the five, man. The fifth,
sure,
yeah. Tell
sure.
me.
So the Washington Nationals with the Lerner family in 2006, we purchased the team. In 2015, I had the opportunity to join the entrepreneur here in Washington called Mark Ein. He's gone on to own, to purchase the City Open. That was my second. Third was the Washington Spirit, which is the National Women's Soccer League. Purchased into that in 2020. We won the 2021 National Women's Soccer League championship, and that made my third championship ring. After that would have been the Cape Town Tigers in South Africa. Then, in addition to that, the DC Old Glory rugby team, which is in the Major League Rugby League. In addition to that, I'm a partner in the Sports Fishing Championship, which is a champion fishing tournament. I love sports opportunities. I think it's one of the best things that a person can put their finances into. You just got to be patient enough to one, build a winning culture, and then two, being able to be financially stable enough to part with resources that you can invest.
You know,
You'd be interested in
excuse me
something.
if I'm looking at the screen. I'm staring at the screen like a toddler. How many people in the world know that there's an African American, or even heard that there's an African American behind that is a minority investor or partner in five sports teams and two or three leagues that nobody knows comparison to Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, maybe Dr. J. I'm not even sure. How come we don't know that and celebrate it? Because you have not, been keeping it a secret, yet you don't also wear it on your sleeve and go out there and brag, right? Why don't we know this?
Are you a CEO that knows that you've done everything to master your craft? Now you need to take your personal brand to the next level? Well, I love working one-on-one with game-changing CEOs. And if you're interested, reach out. Go to workwithashark.com and fill out the form. Now, back to the video.
I've been seeing a lot more recently on posting about minority and or just overall ownership in sports, and so I've been included on some of those posts over time. But as you kind of pointed out, it's not something from my end that I've gone out of my way to kind of try to make happen at all. For me, it's more focusing on the business and
Yeah.
focusing on the
Yeah,
opportunities
and I understand
that
that,
are in
right?
front of you.
I'm clear on your position of, man, I'm trying to make moves here, man. I'm not trying to, I ain't trying to brag about any of this stuff. I got a bigger obligation to be of
Hmm.
as much value and service. And I don't even need to ask you that question because when I walk into rooms, I may or may not see you, but people talk about you because that means you are a very busy person. How did you become such a worldly person being moved? By the way, some of the teams you own are on the other side of the planet. So I just want to make sure people are clear on that. How did you do that all in a worldly manner
passion, and both of us speak to young people on a regular basis. That's often the most meaningful question I'm asked is, what advice would you be to your former self or to other young people, et cetera? And from my end, it's always doing things that you're passionate about. So, I mean, literally for me as a kid, I loved music. That's like one of the most kind of anchor components of the core of my life is music. And then in addition to that, I played sports. I wasn't good enough to be a musician, but I loved it. But sports I could play, and I played pretty much all sports and tried my hand at everything. Once you kind of just get to me some fundamentals of business under your skin, you can pretty much do business anywhere. I've been an entrepreneur the whole of my life. I've hustled the whole of my life. Opportunities pop up, and sometimes when you're the only person there who's like thinking business all the time, it comes to you fairly easily. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke, and so for me, it's like, well, you got to key in on something, put your time and energy towards something. I love making money. I love the passion around that. I love the opportunities that it creates for you. And so being mindful of those things, I ran across the book Think and Grow Rich when I was 17 years old. At the time when it was my first time dropping out of high school. I dropped out of high school 3 times.
Wait. How'd you drop out of high school 3 times? Once you drop out, you're out. Were you? They
No,
let
you're
you? Why
not.
they even
No,
let
you
you
can, you
back
go
in?
back the next year. You go back the next year and talk your way in. Just get ahead. And after my senior year of high school, when I dropped out the third time, I was like, well, I'm not going back at it anymore because I should be graduating. And I ended up talking my way into junior college.
I want to pause for a second because there's so much stuff there, right? First of all, so many commonalities. I love hip hop. I couldn't rap. How was I going to be part of it? You love jazz. You couldn't play. The same way that as you were a good player and stuff, and I tried to tell all the kids or anybody, whoever it is, whatever you love, there's 10 jobs around it. You don't have to be Jordan. You can be Paxton, the team owner. You can be the nutritionist. You can be the attorney. You can be wherever you excel at. Really, really critical for people to understand that. The next thing is when you understand the fundamentals of business, you can travel the world and no matter what, you can figure it out. I was just talking to a colleague of mine, a team member of mine, and I was like, always look for the motivation of something. And so you will when you go into different countries, you say, well, I don't speak the language. You speak the language. The language is trade. The language is of service, of value, commodity. People need something. I'll give you an example. Someone's going to the airport, and I told them, listen, they were like, "Oh, I got all these bags, but they have a preferred, I guess, status, right? And the bag is 70 pounds, and they were pissed off. Damon, they started making me, open the bags in the middle of the airport because every one of the bags was 72 pounds over. Well, you're only allotted 70 pounds, but every one did 1 to 2 pounds. They were like 200 a piece if I didn't take the 2 pounds out. You didn't break it down. You didn't think like business. The person at the counter, that person has a job. It gets put on the scale. The scale hits upstairs. At the end of the month, they go, do you know you let 4,000 bags through that were 2 pounds over? And if you add all 4,000 of those by $200, you know how much money we lost? You're fired. However,
Right.
who's the people when you pull up, they're chasing you down? Sky caps. The sky caps are looking at you for a tip. What do? Oh, they make sure the scale is not, it's a little up. Your bag's 69 pounds, ma'am. Next time she went, she had 4 bags. She got to the airport, $50. All the bags were damn near 95 pounds. It's just a form of thinking about what is the motivation for business in any form. Because I know that I don't care where you drop me off, I'm going to be okay. Tell me about
Yeah,
how
it's
you
so
use that in
it's
different
but then on that one, it's interesting in that I loved music as a kid. I mentioned that, but when the opportunity to produce international music festivals came up, I looked at the U.S. and at the time this was before the FX roll up of all what became Live Nation.
Uh-huh.
There were big promoters. For me, the Caribbean was an opportunity because nobody was there. So I started in Aruba. I was there from 90 to 92. Started St. Lucia 92 to 2014.
But let's break that. Well, why don't we break that down for a second from a business perspective? When you see that nobody's there, there's nobody there for a reason. Something has not been unraveled, or as a lot of the real estate men and women would say, there's a lot of hair on that dog, and I need to shave the hair off that dog. Meaning, they're in it for the long play. You can't get that building because it's a family that was in trust and there's 10 people and they're fighting over it. And then there's the city, and you're willing to work. You're willing to put in work for 5 years, 10 years, but you got a formula. What was the issue in the Caribbean? We know there's not a lot of necessarily infrastructure.
Nobody had taken the time to connect dots. In my opinion, they were waiting for somebody to come along who was able to connect dots. And so to put the tours, like I toured the Fugees in 97.
You were going out. Remember, this is before the internet and social. What in
That's correct.
MySpace
Now,
was
this was
for.
before fax machines. To give you a short answer to it was kind of just really looking and observing as to what the opportunities were. So I started going to different islands and different locations, pull up, meet promoters, get references from other people to introduce me to people, building relationships at tourist boards across the board. Like once you build those relationships, you got somebody in Barbados that you can sell a date to in Barbados. You got somebody in Trinidad you can sell a date to. You have somebody in St. Martin you can sell a date to. Going back to William Morris and say, hey, I've got 5 dates for Gloria Estefan, and I can deliver 5 markets because I have 5 different relationships with different promoters in different locations. So just using your mind and being quick with opportunities and thinking through that. I don't mean to make it too simple, but in my opinion, some of the stuff really was simple. You want to do something, you go someplace, you show up. You have to have enough hustle money to get there, but you get there, you spend 3 or 4 days, you meet everybody you're supposed to meet, you work with a promoter who's got relationships, you work with the tourist board. But that's when Harry Belafonte called me up and he said, hey man, I've been wanting to do a festival and I've been checking with all the agencies and your name keeps popping up. And that's how I started my relationship with Harry Belafonte. He called me on the phone and we began a relationship from there. But it was my work, which is what you said at the beginning of the introduction was, hey man, you're not really trying to blow a whole lot of flags up with your name, but people who should know you, most of them do.
But
And
I
that's
got
how
I got to
Harry
go.
Belafonte.
You're brushing over, and I understand. Listen, you're too close to it, and you brush over it. And if we had a lot of time, we could probably dig in on it.
If you're a CEO like I was, where I mastered my craft, but I know that I needed to master my personal brand, well then, you've come to the right guy. I love working with CEOs that are already game changers and just need to take it to the next level, but nobody out there has experienced what they have experienced, and nobody out there can take them to where they want to go. Well, I can. And if you want to find out more about it, reach out. Go to workwithashark.com. And thanks for watching. And make sure you subscribe. Peace.